Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Savvius webinar, Monitoring Wireless Network Data with ELK. I'd like to introduce today's speakers, Chris Bloom. He's a technology evangelist here at Savvius. We also have Jay Botello, Director of Products at Savvius, on the call. So, Chris, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Matt. And welcome, everybody. Welcome, Jay. And,
thanks, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an exciting webinar. It's a continuing series of our integration of ELK and Savvius products. So real quick, let's go through today's agenda. First of all, we are making a big announcement, and then we're going to go through the features and the benefits of that, showing the ELK dashboards on an Omnippliance Wi-Fi. Of course, there's going to be considerations, things you have to think about if you're going to do monitoring on an Omnippliance. Jay will be giving us a use case example, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Omnippliance Wi-Fi itself. We'll review what the workflow would be, and then we're going to have a live demo. So without further ado, let's have a big announcement. And there we go. Yes, we are adding long-term reporting to the ELK dashboards on the Omnippliance Wi-Fi. Now why is that a big announcement, and why is that so exciting? The Omnippliance Wi-Fi is, in itself an exciting product. It takes advantage of Savvius's award-winning Wi-Fi analysis capabilities in an Omnippliance platform, allowing you to capture up to 4 gigs of simultaneous Wi-Fi traffic from your from APs, mostly for troubleshooting. By adding the ELK dashboards, you get the long-term reporting of all that analysis. So now you're not just looking at what's happening right now. You can look and see what was happening yesterday and the day before and an hour ago and compare those and so on and so forth. So we're pretty excited about that. We think you will be too. What are the features? What happens when you add long-term reporting to the ELK dashboards? Well, all of a sudden, you have the ability to trend. You can see, well, what's happening over the course of time? Well, what happened since yesterday? What do I think, based on this trend, is going to happen tomorrow? I can now set a baseline. I can say, okay, this is what my network should look like, and from now on, I can compare what's happening on my network to that. Yeah, there's a lot to say about the features. Jay, you think I covered it there, or are there other comments you'd like to make about that?
No, I think that's pretty much it. But like you said, it's pretty important, because with wireless, there's not a lot of that, and there's certainly not a product that combines the amount of data that an Omnippliance Wi-Fi would for doing the trending and baselining. So all of these features there's not much more important based on the quantity of data that an Omnippliance Wi-Fi is going to process.
And that's a really great point. The trending and all of these features would really not be that useful if it weren't for the amount of WLAN analysis that we do in the Omnippliance Wi-Fi. So that's what makes it exciting, is to be able to see all of that analysis over time. Now, with the features of long-term reporting, what kind of benefits do you get? So, you get the trending and the reporting. Well, first and foremost, we believe that that's going to lead to faster mean time to resolution. For one, you're being much more proactive. So instead of waiting till the problem occurs, and then somebody telling you and you going to get some packets and then having to reproduce the problem, you're actually monitoring. And you can see when problems are going to occur, in many cases before they occur. And of course, that's ideal, because then your mean time to resolution is 0, because you were able to solve the problem before it happened. Or if it does happen, then now you've got the ability to do some amount of analysis in the browser and then get to OmniPeak and ideally solve the problem again before it happens or soon after it did. Other benefits include, well, it's browser-based. OmniPeak is a great product for troubleshooting packets, but the OmniPeak is limited to certain types of users who know about protocol analysis. The dashboards, as you'll see, if you haven't seen them before, are very easy to use, and it's in a browser so you can see them from anywhere. Workflow. It does add a level of workflow to the whole process that you may already be used to with our products. Instead of starting with OmniPeak, you're starting with a browser-based reporting solution, and that makes it easier to use. That also allows you to separate the levels of responsibility between members of your team. You may have some members that are monitoring the dashboards, and then others who are experts at OmniPeak who get assigned to troubleshooting problems when they occur. Of course, they can be customized in many different ways, and all of this leads to cost savings. So we're providing you with a product that adds this reporting capability, so you're getting an all-in-one solution there, and overall, it will save you money because you'll have fewer network problems. So let's get on with showing you the, having talked about the dashboards, I want to give you a little glimpse here, but we're going to move through this pretty quick because we are going to be giving a live demo. But here you can see this is what our dashboards look like, either on our small Insight device or one of our larger appliances. And as hopefully you can see from these kinds of statistics, mostly network-based. What we're adding with the OmniAppliance Wi-Fi are the WLAN statistics, which you can see some of here. Now, keep in mind that the OmniAppliance Wi-Fi version that will have these dashboards is not released yet, so we're still working on it. So there will be more stats in here, but you can see, you will see in the demo some of the stats that we've exposed into the dashboards so far. Let's talk about considerations real quick. When you are going to add reporting to your overall solution, you're going to be asking your machine to do more work. So you have to think about that. You're not just capturing the packets to disk and then going back and do forensic search later. You are asking it to do all the analysis in real time. Now, with the OmniAppliance Wi-Fi, it's not as much of an issue as it might be for one of our larger boxes that says that might do 20 gigabits per second. Wireless is not that fast yet. So the OmniAppliance Wi-Fi at about 4 gigs is ideal for doing this type of analysis. A few other things are, obviously the more capture points you have, in this case, meaning the more APs that you have in promiscuous mode throughout, the area that you want to monitor, the better. And Jay will go over that more in the coming slides. And then there's a few other things like what your interval is, like do you want a snapshot of the data every 10 seconds, every 1 minute, once an hour. These all will affect, how much disk space you use, your performance, things like that. And then finally, whether you have the data go local or remote, whether you're actually storing the data on the OmniAppliance Wi-Fi, right out of the box, we include everything you need. There is zero you need to install onto the OmniAppliance Wi-Fi in order for this functionality to work. However, let's say you have multiple OmniAppliance Wi-Fis, or even you already have an ELK server installed somewhere else, you can easily send the data over to your remote ELK server. And then there's, okay, now maybe you have your ELK servers in a cluster. Those are things that you would consider. And finally, maybe you're even using the Elastic Cloud, so you might want to consider that. Aggregation kind of goes into, if you have multiple OmniAppliance Wi-Fis and you want to aggregate all the data from those into a single dashboard. So those are some of the considerations. There might be others. If you have questions about them, feel free to ask. You can also call us, and we'd love to talk to you about the considerations you might need to think about if you're going to deploy a solution like this. All right, Jay, how about an example of using OmniAppliance Wi-Fi in a situation like we have on the board here?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And actually, this This general situation is really what drove us originally to this whole concept of omni-appliance Wi-Fi and now the ability to take advantage of the dashboards. But typically, basically the scenario here is it's a large trading floor. So it's a fairly dense deployment, but also a fairly contained deployment, right? It's one very large room, so the number of access points isn't necessarily extremely large. Number of users is large, and the whole concept here was, with this density of users, they were experiencing problems in real time, not reporting them in real time, and then the network administrator was being forced after the fact to go back and troubleshoot problems that happened hours ago. Didn't have packets available, didn't really have any data available. So we were able to put together a solution that provided real-time, ongoing capture, basically, of all of the wireless network traffic in the room, of all those users, using access points, so using the same type of access points that were already being used to service the network, to provide the network, just another cluster of those that were put into a promiscuous mode, a capture-only mode, then that could capture all of the wireless data. Again, there were hundreds of simultaneous users. There's hundreds of transactions per second, and what the end user was able to do, the network administrators, was capture all of that wireless traffic. So whenever a problem was reported, even if it was reported at the end of the day, they could go back and see exactly what was going on at the time that that user reported that problem, providing some great forensic data and allowing them to really increase the level of service on this trading floor. Now, where this would be even more valuable with an ELK dashboard with long-term reporting is now you'd save that data for even longer. You can only save the packets for a few days, but with the long-term trending and reporting, we can save the statistics around those packets for an extremely long period of time. So not only would they get the benefit of being able to solve problems, in near real time, but they would get the benefit of being able to baseline and overall track the nature of that wireless traffic over a long period of time using these new ELK dashboards that Chris is talking about.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jay. And absolutely, that's true with the amount of disk space you have on an Omni-Appliance Wi-Fi. It is a one-use device. It's got like 8 terabytes of disk space. You could allocate, a terabyte or so to the long-term data, and that would, maybe you'd be able to save your statistics for a year or more, right? So we're excited to see the Omni-Appliance Wi-Fi not only used in the way it's been in situations and examples like this, but also, in adding the monitoring capability. And this is just one example of the use of the Omni-Appliance Wi-Fi. Jay, I'm sure there's lots of other verticals that the Omni-Appliance Wi-Fi with the dashboards would apply to.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Chris. I mean, it pretty much goes across the board, but certainly areas in retail or education, and we already have those today where large universities are using this type of solution. Even things like, cruise ships or other areas where, where the Wi-Fi is the primary mode of connection and where the Wi-Fi coverage, is can at least be controlled and is relatively compact. So the list is very, very, very long in terms of this financial, others, public sector. There's just a huge number of verticals. Pretty much everywhere where there is wireless, it is appropriate for Omni-Appliance Wi-Fi with the ELK dashboards. Yeah.
Absolutely. A few that come to mind for me are, of course, hospitals, retail. One we actually did a webinar on recently was point of sale. So, anywhere where you have a grocery store or lots of grocery stores, this would be a perfect solution for monitoring the wireless, systems that are in those stores or any one of those types of, of buildings. So, with that, let's just talk about we've talked about all the benefits and features. So you want to make sure everybody out there knows what an Omni-Appliance Wi-Fi is. Jay, you want to give us a little intro on the device itself?
Sure, and hopefully it's probably hard to tell, but as you can tell from the little picture at the top to the left where it says OmniAppliance Wi-Fi, yeah, it is a 1U, one rackable unit sized appliance, and it is an appliance form. You can stick it in the rack with your other equipment, and it is typically racked right along with your wireless LAN controller and other equipment of that sort. It really is the first, and still as far as we know, the only dedicated appliance like this for distributed wireless packet capture and analysis, where still mostly today any sort of packet capture for wireless is done with a laptop, with somebody running Wireshark or hopefully OmniPeak, but that's the way it's typically done. OmniAppliance Wi-Fi extends that, allows users to capture data from a wireless network all the way through to 11 AC networks 24/7, have that data always available as I described in that previous use case, so it's always there. In terms of more specifics, it does multi-gigabit captures. It's got a 4-port card in it. Each port is 1 gig, so you can capture pretty much up to where about 3.5 to 3.8 gigabits per second across those that 4 gigabit per second worth of ports. Of course, you can do real-time analysis if you choose to. One of the real beauties of the box is being able to do that forensics analysis, because the packets are always there and all saved in that 8 terabytes of storage. So you can get days and days and days of packet storage. The method of capture, we're not going to get into this in a lot of detail. We have other webinars on OmniAppliance Wi-Fi, but as I described in the use case, the way of capturing the packets is with access points. So there's some real benefits there. Number one, you could take existing access points in real time offline to become sensors, or you can dedicate certain access points to be sensors. It's very flexible in the way you do that. The real benefit there is you're never going to miss any packets. The fact that you're using an AP for capture that's the same as the APs you're using for the network itself means it's got the same capabilities, and it can receive all of the same packets that are being sent and received on your network. Traditional laptop-based solutions that are using a USB wireless LAN device, they're typically not as capable. They can't do things like, for example, 4-stream 11 AC. So you would have basically holes or blank spots in your capture unless you're capturing from an AP itself. They're all performed locally on the box. The analysis is done locally, and we've tested it with industry-leading access points for capture, like those from Aruba and Cisco.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And so there you go. That is the OmniAppliance Wi-Fi. Here's just a quick picture of how it would be connected to your network. You've got your APs all over the your buildings. They may have controllers, and then all that traffic is being tunneled to the OmniAppliance Wi-Fi, which you could of course see in OmniPeak, and now you can see in the ELK dashboards. And just a little bit about the workflow. It's similar to what you would think of when using one of our solutions, where you've got your appliance, you've got all your packets, but now you add the long-term reporting dashboards to it. So you now start your analysis with the dashboards. That's the main thing. You can filter on the dashboards. You can search on time ranges. You can look at specific statistics. And it's not until you need to go to the package that you would then run OmniPeak and look at the packets. So with that being said, I want to give you a quick live demo of the new dashboards. So here we go. Let's bring my web browser over to the screen. So this is the dashboards that we've had. We've been working on these dashboards for a couple of years now. They're available on our Savvius Insight device. They will be available on the OmniAppliance Wi-Fi and the larger OmniAppliances in our next release. And what you're seeing here is what we call our overview dashboard. So you can see just general things about the network, utilization, response times, and then you see things over time. You can, of course, select ranges of time. You can filter on, particular applications or or IP addresses, things like that. So very powerful dashboard. If you're familiar with ELK dashboards, then you know what I'm talking about. If you aren't, then I highly recommend, go onto Google, type Elastic, and you will see how much information there is about the dashboards and how incredibly customizable they are. We're not going to go into a whole lot of detail about that here. We have done other webinars about the customization, and we've also written blog entries, which Matt will share with you later. Here, though, what I really want to focus on is the dashboard that we've added specifically for the OmniAppliance Wi-Fi, and that is our wireless dashboard. You see up at the top, we have the list of dashboards, and the first one is the overview. We've just added this one for OmniAppliance Wi-Fi called wireless, and hopefully the text is big enough that you can see some of the stats that we're showing already in this dashboard, like your total wireless networks. How many networks are out there, how many ESSIDs and in general and clients connected to them, the total number of access points, the total number of wireless clients, and then we get into where we're doing analysis for you, not just counts of things, but like we can identify network policy violations. We have experts on the APs and the clients. Now, the experts and the violations are also available through the dashboards, just don't have them hooked up into lists yet. But basically, any of the analysis that you're familiar with in OmniPeak will be displayed in the dashboards and, over time. So, for example, we've got the same kind of statistics that we showed up top, but over time. So once you do it over time like this, you can then go and select ranges of time. We will also be showing all of those statistics, not just in graphical form, but in table form too. So, let's look at a couple of nodes. You can see their address. You can see whether they're an AP or a station, what channel they're on. Of course, the packets and bytes. And then there are all kinds of statistics about signal strength and, whether it's dBm or noise, signal to noise ratio, things like that. You'll be able to see those here and even sort on them, on any one of them. So you could see who has the lowest signal strength, or who is the top talker, different things like that. And then at any point in time, you could filter on one. And this is where you might make that transition from the dashboards to OmniPeak. You might say, well, wow, my signal strength is really low for this this device, or my latency is really, really high. I better crank up OmniPeak, do a forensic search, and do some more low-level analysis on the actual packets. We don't show the packets in the dashboards. We leave that to OmniPeak to do. So this is where we are on the WLAN or the wireless dashboard so far. Still working on it, and real excited about what we're going to be releasing in the next version of the OmniAppliance Wi-Fi, which will be coming out in this quarter. There are other dashboards. You can see these dashboards on our other products as well, so they're not as much wireless specific, but of course wireless data is packets, just like wired packets. So just to give you an example of some of the other dashboards, you could see all the applications that are running on your wireless network. Here we're looking at the response times of the worst response times, average response times of our applications. You can see Dropbox is always at the top, and the others are there as well. You may recognize some of those because we do have application awareness. We go beyond layer 7 into which web services you use, because some are not going to be critical, like maybe Google, but if you're using something like Salesforce, well, you want to make sure that latency is within the acceptable parameters. Here are the worst response times, and then of course again a list of those with more information about it. One of the dashboard I wanted to show you is the utilization map. So here we actually can see where the traffic is coming from. You can see that in multiple dimensions in what we call the donut pie. Very dense amount of information there. And you can also see at a high level where the information is or the data is flowing throughout the world, as well as some tables. And this is what we provide out of the box, but of course you can customize these in many different ways. So there are the dashboards we wanted to show you. There's more information about our dashboards, on our website. And with that, I just wanted to go back to the slides real quick and give you some quick takeaways. Let's wrap this up. Everybody's got a busy day. We just want you to leave with a few major takeaways. One is that with the OmniAppliance Wi-Fi, we are now adding monitoring to what traditionally was mostly a troubleshooting tool. So it can now be used 24/7 in a very proactive way. It leverages your existing Wi-Fi infrastructure. You've got access points all over the place. There are usually plenty of access points to dedicate or at least assign to the monitoring of the infrastructure itself. This solution improves your workflow in many different ways, which I went over, creating those levels of responsibility, providing you a faster MTTR, mean time to resolution, and lower total cost of ownership. And as we went over, there are many verticals and use cases for this solution. Anywhere where you have wireless meshes, didn't even mention the stadiums, is a great use case venue for this type of solution.